I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in nightmare fights an irresistible force. I had lost all my breath. When he was going down, he had lost all his breath, means he was not able to breathe properly. His lungs were aching, head was throbbing. I was getting dizzy, means ही वॉज फीलिंग गिडीनेस. उसको ऐसा लग रहा था कि वो घूम रहा है, उसका सिर चकरा रहा है. बट आई रिमेंबर्ड द स्ट्रेटेजी. I would spring. Then a strategy came in his mind. He thought that when he will go to bottom and touch the pool, he will come upwards like the cork of a bottle. Then he thought that I would lie flat on the water, strike out with my arms. And he was planning to strike water with his arm and legs. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. It was the planning made by him at the time when he was going downwards. I went down endlessly. I opened my eyes. Nothing but water with a yellow glow. Dark water that one could not see through. But he was not able to see anything except water. And then sheer stark terror seized me. And then terror caught him. Terror that knows no understanding. Terror that knows no control. Terror that no one can understand who has not experienced it. He had a great fear of water earlier in his mind, and now with this misadventure, some more fear had come in his mind about water, and it was such a fear which can be understood by only such a person who who had faced the fear. I was shrieking underwater. He was crying underwater. I was paralyzed underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Even the cries in his throat were frozen. Only his heart and the pounding in his head said that he was alive. And then, in the midst of the terror, came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump. And then again, in the fear of water, he thought that he must remember how to jump when he will hit the bottom. At last, I felt the tiles under me, and then he felt the tiles under him. Means now he had tiles under him, means now he had touched. His feet had touched the bottom. I looked for ropes, ladders, water wings, nothing but water. A mass of yellow water held me. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me. Like a great charge of electricity, I shook and trembled with fright. He was trembling with fear. The narrator was trembling with fear. My arms wouldn't move. He was feeling as if his body was paralyzed, and my legs wouldn't move. His legs were not moving. I tried to call for help. He wanted to make a call for help, to call for mother. Nothing happened. And then, strangely, there was light. I was coming out of the awful yellow water, and then at once he felt some light in his eyes, and he thought as if he was out of this yellow water. At least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. Then I started down a third time, and now when he once came out of the water, again when he was completely out of water, when his eyes and nose were out of water in second attempt, he was not able to come out of water properly, and in third attempt he again started going downwards. I sucked for air and got water. The yellowish light was going out. Then all effort ceased, and when He went towards the bottom for the third time, then all efforts ended. I relaxed. Even my legs felt limp. Limp means even his legs were lifeless. It wiped out terror. It cleared now. All the terror had gone from his mind. There was no more panic. There was no more fear. It was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice. To be drowsy, to go to sleep. Now, when he was going towards water, he was feeling as if he was going to sleep because now there was few consciousness in his mind, but now he was not able to plan how to come out of water. No need to jump. Now he was not thinking about jumping. Too tired to jump. It's nicely to be carried gently, to float along in space. And now he was thinking that as if he was floating in the space. Tender arms around me, tender arms like mother's. Now I must go to sleep. I crossed to oblivion. Oblivion means forgetfulness. Now he was forgetting everything and the curtain of the life fell. और अब उसको ऐसा लग रहा था कि उसकी लाइफ का पर्दा अब गिर चुका है, that he would die. The next I remember, I was lying on my stomach beside the pool. But the next thing he remembers is that he was lying beside the pool और he was lying on his stomach. मतलब पेट के बाहर उसको लिटाया हुआ था. And he was vomiting. The chap that threw me in was saying, the big boy, the big bully who had threw him in the water, he was saying, but I was only fooling. He said that I was only making a joke. I was only playing a joke. Someone said, the kid nearly died. Be all right now. तो किसी और ने बोला कि बच्चे ने तो बिल्कुल मर ही जाना था. Be all right now. Let us carry him to the locker room. So let we take the child to the locker room. Locker room was the room where the clothes were kept, means the changing room, and where we can go for rest also. The boy was taken to that room. Several hours later, I walked home. I was weak and trembling, and after staying for some time in the locker room, he was kept home. He was weak and trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. Even when he lay down on his bed, he at that time also he was not in his senses, means the fear of the same misadventure was a present in his mind, and it was threatening him again and again. I couldn't eat that night. For days, a haunting fear was in my heart. और जब कोई ऐसा इंसिडेंट होता है, फिर क्या होता है कि ये तो क्या सोचना बंदे ने कि कहीं स्विमिंग करनी है, मतलब पानी को देख के भी डर लगता है. So for days, a haunting fear was in my heart. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. I never went back to the pool. And then he was so much troubled and unstable with this incident that he didn't go to the pool for some time. I feared water. Now there was a fear of water in his mind. I avoided it whenever I could. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of Cascades, I wanted to get into them. Cascade is a waterfall. So, after many years, when he came to know about the waters of Cascade, he came to know about the waterfall cascades. I wanted to get into them. He wanted to go there. And whenever I did, whether I was wading to Titan or bumping river or bathing in warm lake of the got rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. But whenever he goes to these places, the same old fear comes back in his mind. The terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. It would take possession of me completely, and whenever he goes near such water bodies, then the same old terror of water comes in his mind. It would take possession of me completely. My legs would become paralyzed, and he feels as if his legs were paralyzed. I see horror would grab me, and the horror of water grabbed his heart fully. This handicap stayed with me years as the years rolled by. So this fear remained with him for many years. In canoes on many lakes, fishing for landlocked salmon, bass fishing in New Hampshire, trout fishing on the Deschutes and Metolius in Oregon, fishing for salmon on the Columbia at Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Wherever I went, these are the name of the places with water bodies where one can go for swimming. But whenever he goes near these places for swimming, the same old fear of water overpowers him. Whenever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. It ruined my fishing trips, and this fear ruined ruined his fishing trips. That means he had a great fondness of fishing also, but due to his fear of water, he was not able to fulfill his fondness for fishing, deprived me of the joy of canoeing. And as there was fear of water, he was not able to enjoy canoeing, boating, and swimming. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear. So he used all the ways to overcome this fear, but it held me firmly in its grip. But the fear caught him completely in its grip. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. And finally, when it was the month of October, he decided to hire an instructor to learn swimming. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week, an hour each day. He went to the pool and he did the practice of swimming 5 days per week and an hour in a day. The instructor put a belt around me. Now listen carefully how he learned swimming, how the instructor taught him. The instructor put a belt around him. उसकी कमर के पास एक बेल्ट बांध दी. A rope attached to the belt, and a rope was attached to that belt, went through a pulley that ran on an overhead cable. तो पूल की जो ब्रेड थी उसके ऊपर एक केबल लगी हुई थी, एक तार लगी हुई थी, उसमें एक पुली लगी हुई थी और पुली के ऊपर से उसने वो रोप की. And then we went back and forth across the pool, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. On each trip across the pool, a bit of panic seized me. And on every trip, means every time when he goes to the pool to learn swimming, the same fear catches him. The same fear of water was there in his mind. The some On each trip across the pool, a bit of panic seized me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under, some of the old terror returned and my legs froze. And every time when he goes in water, the old terror of water comes in his mind and his legs freeze. It was 3 months before the tension began to slack, and it took him 3 months in all to to overcome this fear of water. Slack means to overcome or to become less. So then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale. And पूल में तो क्या होता है, थोड़ा सा पानी था कि एक बार जैसे ही आपने अपनी बाजू और टांगे पीछे की, then you can jump upwards and come under water to inhale and exhale. But when he had learned this stroke of swimming, then the instructor taught him the other stroke, and this stroke was that how to exhale in water and how to inhale by raising your nose out water, कि पानी में से नाक बाहर निकाल के सांस कैसे लेनी है. It was taught to him. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times. Bit by bit means part by part. I shed part of the panic, and in small parts now. Gradually, the fear had gone when my head went under water. Gradually, I shed part of the fear that seized me, that caught me when I was under water. Next, he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. For weeks, I did just that, and this stroke, it took him a lot of time to become perfect in this stroke, that how to go to the side and how to kick with legs. For weeks I did just that. At first my legs refused to work. In the beginning the legs were not working properly, but they gradually relaxed. And finally I would command them. Thus, piece by piece, and he built a swimmer. And then, in this way, by learning the different strokes, part in part, he was a well-built swimmer. And when he had perfected each piece, and when he had become perfect in each stroke, he put them together into an integrated whole. क्या होता है, जब आपको छोटे, अब सपोज आपके चैप्टर्स की एक्सरसाइजेज होती हैं, ठीक है, लेट अस टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ मैथ्स. मैथ्स में क्या होता है, यूनिट्स होते हैं, यूनिट्स के आगे क्या होता है, चैप्टर के पार्ट्स होते हैं. सपोज देयर इज यूनिट 1, चैप्टर 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. ठीक है, पहले पार्ट्स में टेस्ट होता है एंड देन इंटीग्रेटेड होल मींस सारे का टेस्ट होता है. ठीक है, तो इसी तरीके से जब उसको डिफरेंट जो स्विमिंग के अलग अलग तरीके थे वो सिखाए गए, जब वो सब में परफेक्ट हो गया तो उसके बाद उसने उन सबको यूज किया एन इंटीग्रेटेड वन. तो उसने फिर एक बार स्विमिंग की जिसमें उसने वो सभी रूल्स यूज किए जो उसके इंस्ट्रक्टर ने उसे बताए थे, दैट हाउ टू यूज देम. He put them together into an integrated whole. In April, he said, "How you can now you can swim." And he had started taking training in October, and in April means within the time period of 6 to 7 months, the instructor said, "Now you can swim. Dive off and swim the length of the pool." Crawl stroke. Crawl stroke is the stroke of a name. The name of a stroke. So the instructor said that now jump in water and swim to the length of the pool, and now you will swim with crawl stroke. Means now the instructor was testing him. I did. The instructor was finished. बट आई वॉज नॉट फिनिश्ड. इंस्ट्रक्टर की ट्रेनिंग पूरी हो चुकी थी, उसने मेरे टेस्ट भी ले लिए थे, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू द इंस्ट्रक्टर नाउ आई वॉज एबल टू swim at any place. But my own practice was not finished yet. I still wondered if I would be terror stricken when I was alone in the pool. उसको अभी भी ऐसा डर था कि क्या जब मैं पूल में अकेला हूँगा तो मैं तैर सकूंगा. I tried it. I swam to the length, up and down. Tiny vestiges of the old terror would return. तो क्या होता, जब वो पानी में जाता तो पुराना डर आ जाता था वापस. बट नाउ आई कुड फ्राउन एंड से टू द टेरर, बट नाउ ही हैड द courage to say to the fear trying to scare me, fear, are you trying to scare me? Well, here's to you. Look, and off I would go for another length of pool. Now I have no fear of you. Now you need to fear from me. This went on until July. But I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the terror had left. So I went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. अभी भी वो पूल में ही स्विमिंग कर रहा था, तो उसको ये he was not perfect whether all the fear had gone or still some fear was left. So he went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire, dived off a dock at Triggs Island, and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stampeck Island. I swam the crawl, breaststroke, sidestroke and backstroke. Only once did the terror return. एक बार तो उसके मन में डर वापस आ जाता था, but he had the power to overcome all the fears now. When I was in the middle of the lake, I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. The old sensation returned in miniature, means very minute fear comes in his mind sometimes. But I laughed and said, well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? It fled and I swam on. उसने फियर को बोला, ए मिस्टर फियर, व्हाट विल यू डू टू मी? तुम मुझे क्या कर सकते हो? और इतना बोल के फिर वो स्विमिंग करनी शुरू कर देता. Yet I had residual doubts. Yet there were some doubts. At my first opportunity I hurried west, went up to Titan to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creek Trail to Mead Glacier, and camped in the high meadow by the side of Warm Lake. The next morning I dived into the lake and swam across to other shore and back, just as Doc Coppen used to do. अब ये इस पैराग्राफ में क्या एग्जांपल्स हैं? The names of those places have been given where he practiced swimming in running water. The next morning I dived into lake and swam across to the other shore and back, just as Doc Coppen used to do. I shouted with joy. And the Gilbert Peak returned the echo. और अब जब उसने finally यहाँ पे swimming की and he was successful, then he cried with happiness, and the shouting of the cry was so high that the Gilbert Peak is the peak of the mountain. So the echo of his cry returned from the Gilbert Peak. तो वो जो चिल्लाया, उस चिल्लाने की आवाज गिलबर्ट पीक से वापस आई, उसकी गूंज. I had conquered my fear of water. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate. Now, this experience had a deep meaning, this learning had a deep meaning for him, and only those people who had faced the terror and who had conquered it, who had overpowered it, can know that what is success. In death there is peace, there is terror only in the fear of death. कहते जब डेथ हो जाती है उसके बाद तो कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता, लेकिन फियर किस चीज का होता है? डेथ का. As Roosevelt knew when he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. हमें किस चीज का डर होता है? डर का. Because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce, the will to live somehow grew in intensity. At last I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear. So, with this, the reading of the chapter is complete. In the next class, I'll give you the questions of this chapter and